There's this abandoned mansion in Toronto that came up in a group shot among my friends. We saw pictures of it through a mutual friend who had recently gone to explore there. It looked immaculate based on the pictures, and we were intrigued to go check it out. It was 10 miles north from us, so the drive wasn't bad. The mansion sat on a big open grass plain with pine trees and other foliage surrounding the perimeter of the property, acting as a natural fence or just a wall of privacy from the outside. As I led the way up the large gravel driveway towards the front of the unfinished house, my friends, let's call them Chad and Brad, followed closely behind me. By the looks of it, construction on the structure had been abandoned when it was near completion, as the outside foundation seemed to be finished. Our mutual friend, who found out about the place, had told us that he hopped through a back window that was left unlocked. So that's what we looked for, the unlocked window. It turned out to be in the kitchen, over the counter. So, one at a time, we squeezed through the window, crawling out to the counter and then down to the ground. First impressions in the kitchen were almost immaculate, minus a few of the cabinet doors sprawled out on the floor as if they had yet to be installed, and just things like sheetrock boards lying around. But everything seemed new, and it was a shame the construction was abandoned. The three of us kind of went our own directions in the house. I went towards the living room, which again was almost pristine. It was a huge room that transitioned into the dining room, and then from there, a wide hallway with at least 10 different doors. My friends were already checking out some rooms in this hallway. I peeped into each room and realized most of them were bedrooms. At the end of the hall was a 3-door garage. The last door in the hall, before the garage, was the basement. I called to Brad and Chad that I was checking out the basement. I got an acknowledgement from at least one of them. The basement had this bizarre spiral staircase, so when I got to the bottom, I couldn't even see the door at the top. There were no windows down there, so besides my flashlight, it was pitch black. It was a completely unfinished basement, with pieces of drywall everywhere and unfinished wood foundation where walls should be. But the basement was huge, like there were multiple sections down there. It was big enough to fit a basketball court and more. Then, I came across this back room with a few storage containers. I was here to explore, after all, so I curiously started lifting the lids off the containers. The first two seemed to contain building tools and supplies, like wood planks. But then, I heard something from one of the other containers. It was like something caused the container to make a bump sound. Could it be an animal? Was I just hearing things? I went to the container and noticed the lid was not sealed on this one, as it wasn't sitting perfectly snug on the top. As I bent over to try to lift the lid, it lifted without me touching it. And I heard a whispering noise. I fell backwards on my hands as this happened, and while I was on the ground, I saw a smiling woman looking at me. The only thing lifting the container up was her head. She looked at me, laughed, and said, "Peekaboo." And she laughed some more. I ran to the top of the stairs, but the basement door was now locked. I banged on it for my friends to open it up. They were apparently messing with me. I heard creaks on the spiral staircase below me. I couldn't see her yet, but I could hear her laughing, getting closer, and she was mumbling incomprehensible things. I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Please help me." And Chad finally opened the door. I ran out and looked back for half a second, greeted by this ghostly, skinny figure of this pale woman looking up at me, almost at the top step. I slammed the door shut and locked it. Chad saw the woman too, and we bolted for the front door. We didn't care about leaving it open. The three of us got to the edge of the property to talk. After an hour of just sitting in my car, thinking and talking, I agreed to go back inside and unlock the basement door. As scary as what I witnessed was, I didn't want to be responsible for someone dying down there. But when we got back inside, the basement door was wide open. I promise you, we locked that door, so it made no sense. We once again bolted back outside towards the car and drove home, never to return to that mansion again.